So starting off the morning, it's good to kind of come back to what our mission is and where our board directs their attention. The data consumer is the North Star for us. That's our board's directive. Data producers are obviously the folks that make this happen for us. But the data consumer, data producer relationship requires us to make standards that work consistently for those data consumers. So, you know our chair, Rebecca Jensen, she's the chair of RESO, but she's also on the board of directors for the Broker Public Portal. Brokers are the primary beneficiaries of what we do in terms of standards. Their technology vendors and their internal technical staff are the primary beneficiaries of what we do at RESO. So Rebecca's going to come up and talk a little bit today about using RESO standards as the foundation for broker technology. Rebecca.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning, everyone here. Thank you for waking up early. I know that it was probably a late night for many of you, and I usually like to start out presentations with a joke, and I got a lot of good feedback about AI Rebecca from my last presentation here at RESO, and so I'm gonna do a little bit of a callback on a joke. And so introducing to the stage is the next generation of AI Rebecca. AI Rebecca, would you please come up?
I'm AI Rebecca Jensen. Real Rebecca Jensen, would you like to hear a joke?
I would love to hear a joke.
Great. An SQL statement walks into a bar. Seeing two tables, it approaches and asks, "May I join you?"
Thank you. Way less creepy than the last AI Rebecca. I'll keep working on that. So, as Sam said, yes, I am the chair of the RESO, and this is the hat I'm wearing for this presentation today, which is the vice chair of the Broker Public Portal. And so I just wanted to first start out by saying to those that have been in the industry a bit, yes, the Broker Public Portal is still a thing. So that's number one. Number two is that I know that there are a lot of new people here that would be like, what are you talking about? And it's kind of reminiscent of my conversation at the RESO reception where we, and I'm not gonna name names, we're talking about what it was like to grow up with old technology and old things that happened. And you know, the stories were about what it was like as a child to lay in the back window of our parents' car on a road trip, or what it was like to use a rotary phone. So yes, I'm that old, and so I want to go in the Wayback Machine to explain what the Broker Public Portal is for those new timers here that might not know. So it was at the last conference that I attended where Greg Robertson talked about the 10-year anniversary at a different conference where brokers and MLSs were sort of crosswise with each other. And there was actually a countdown that was started at that conference that brokers said MLSs have 10 days to basically get their act together and do things. And they had created this list of items that brokers wanted MLSs to figure out. And actually, a lot of that list was about RESO. Brokers wanted data standards. They wanted data to be easier to use in their different platforms. And so we all know what happened from that, and RESO has been amazing since that date. And it wasn't the only thing on the laundry list of items that brokers wanted MLSs to figure out. Another item that was happening 10 years ago was that MLSs were, in one form or another, figuring out a consumer website experience. A lot of MLSs had a local MLS website, and so many of those are very successful to this date. Houston Association of Realtors, at the time I was the CEO in Utah, which created UtahRealEstate.com. A lot of MLSs had a consumer portal. And brokers were wanting MLSs to not compete with them in their marketplace. And as a result, that countdown resulted in a list called the Fair Display Guidelines. And for those of you that are curious about what are the Fair Display Guidelines, they exist till this day. You can go to fairdisplay.org and see what the list of those items are. And some of the items that I thought were pertinent to me telling you what the future is the Fair Display includes items like you're listing your lead. You might have heard of that. Or said another way, brokers wanted, if an MLS had a consumer-facing website, those leads to go at no cost to the broker that produced that listing. So free leads to brokers. Brokers also did not want MLSs to do like an upsell for content on their listings. So at the time, like multiple digital photographs were a thing. And so the concept of, well, hey, brokers might pay $10 for every photo on there, or virtual tours, or other items of data that an MLS might display on a website. Brokers are like, no, 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 no. We want consistent and fair display of all data on listings. So that's in the Fair Display Guidelines. Other items are about advertising, because online websites continue to use advertising as a revenue model. And brokers were okay as long as they knew about it, but they did not want advertising on their listings that competed with them. So for example, some brokerages owned a mortgage company. They did not want a competing mortgage company advertised on their listings. And reporting requirements. Anyway, you can go and look at all of the details, but the whole point is that brokers put MLSs on notice, not just for data standards, but also for consumer-facing websites. And so MLSs responded, and we started working more and more with our brokers, and we created a national broker public portal website. We selected a vendor, at the time it was HomeSnap, to implement the Fair Display Guidelines and the vision. And fast forward, we were actually really successful, so successful that we attracted the big money, and CoStar acquired HomeSnap. And it left the broker public portal kind of scratching our head and saying, we can either pivot on the Fair Display Guidelines and continue the relationship, or we can choose to stick to them and just, take our learnings and start the next iteration. And it's actually that second thing that happened, which is the reason I'm saying broker public portal is still a thing. We did part ways with CoStar as far as being the front-facing technology for the broker public portal. And we said, what would it look like to stick to the Fair Display Guidelines and also implement something that is going to be sustainable, something that is not going to be acquired once we build it up. And so the new strategy is to do an open source consumer portal. And so that is the next thing that is going to happen with the BPP. And basically, once you do something open source, that source code is not able to be acquired. It is something that the community can help build. And part of the community is hopefully part in this room today. Because one thing that is really well done with open source, and you can look at open source in pretty much every technology company throughout history, open source is really good at taking products and stitching them together. So if you have attended the different RESO sessions here, you know that there are a lot of different RESO standards that are helping with that today. We had presentations about the different property identifiers. The property identifiers help each of the vendors and MLSs be able to transfer data seamlessly. We had presentations about interoperability. Interoperability is also about stitching together different platforms. And so RESO is really enabling the strategy and the future of the broker public portal through standards that will enable us at the broker portal level to create a consumer-facing website that takes technology and data from across the industry to bring about the next version of a national consumer portal. And so, there's a lot of details here, and we have license agreements that are in the works. And I'm not sure if Miranda Newman is here, but she has been engaged to help us with the agreements. Part of the reason that we've gone sort of silent is because it's maybe not that interesting to rewrite an operating agreement. So, sorry, Miranda, if you're here, but maybe it's not interesting to everybody, but so that's been done. And what's next is to debut a new leader, a new CEO. So next week, we're hoping to name the next CEO of this initiative because like RESO, the broker portal has been led by volunteers that also have a different job like me. And so we're hiring a CEO that will be the person who wakes up every single day and says, how can we bring this to bear? And so we're in final rounds of interviews there. And we're also looking at an open source license agreement and a data reciprocity agreement because for it to be a national website, we're going to need that MLS data. And we're all familiar with IDX, where brokers have reciprocated their data to display on a broker website. But for those of you that are familiar with IDX, you'll know that the rules there are not the same as you're listing your lead, right? Like that's the opposite pretty much. A broker wants all the leads on their IDX website, whereas a consumer portal would want every single lead that comes in to go to that broker's listing. And so there are gonna be like fine differences, but the point is that we want to bring in as a consumer portal the ability to include websites like HAR or my old, when I was in Utah, utahrealestate.com on a reciprocal basis so that we can truly have national coverage that allows everyone within the community to have a place. So that's part of the strategy. And we hope that the next version will include everyone here that is interested in it. And so we've come a long way. We've taken some lessons in both success and trying to decide whether or not our strategy is one that we should stick to or pivot. We are sticking to the strategy based on the fair display guidelines. We have people, whether that's Miranda on the legal side, the new CEO to be named, and a fleet full of not just MLSs, but brokers. I think the last count I had, there were like 75 brokers that were owners of the broker public portal. And so hopefully we can also engage those same companies in the RESO community because I really believe that what RESO has built is a great framework for how all of us can work together. There are many competitors here and we all help each other solve the tough problems. And so I feel like we can continue that with the next version of an industry consumer-facing website. So if you have any questions, Miranda is around, and I'll refer those also to the new CEO, hopefully next week, but obviously I'm here too. So with that, thank you for being part of RESO. Thank you for helping solve the tough industry problems. It's really heartening to see that we can do great work. And with that, I will leave it off to Sam. Thank you very much.